The good news is that I'm not the GM, and so I don't have to make those decisions. But I did have conversations with Nelson, and I think he's had conversations with everyone on the team, trying to gather, guys' opinions on how the year went and where we can get better and where we can improve. For me, we have to improve in 4 areas: goalkeeping, defending, midfield, and attack. If we improve in those 4 areas, then I think that we're going to be a very good team. And I say that a little tongue-in-cheek, but I really mean that. I think that we took a big step forward this year in a lot of areas, but I also think that in order to accomplish the goals that you want to accomplish, which is winning silverware, you can't be satisfied with just having a pretty good regular season and making the playoffs. You have to always strive for more. And so I thought there were times where our goalkeeping could have been better. I thought there were times where our defending could have been better. I thought there were times when our midfield didn't play well enough and didn't control games well enough. And I thought there were times where our attack could have been better. So it's a very broad statement, but I can't sit here and say any one specific position needs to improve, because we all need to improve. And that's the only way that you get better in this league, is to constantly bring in players that are going to push other guys to be better.
There's a couple guys out of contract, a lot of contract options that need to be picked up. Would you argue to Nelson that those options should be picked up, that you want to bring back guys for the sake of continuity?
I would argue that whatever the coaching staff and Nelson sees as positive players that can impact our team in a positive way going forward, I would pick up those options. I would say that there's certainly something to be said for continuity. The longer that you play with guys, the better your rapport is with them, the better your understanding of their game, and they understand your game a little bit better. But with that being said, you don't just want continuity to say that you have continuity. It's got to make sense in the grand scheme of everything: the salary cap, the locker room, the positional needs of the team. It's a really tough job to have, and I'm glad I'm not the one that has to deal with all that, because that's a really difficult job. And I think that Nelson has shown in each year that he's been here that he's capable of step by step, slowly trying to build this team and make this team better by adding different pieces to the puzzle. And that's kind of how it goes. So yes, I would love to see a bunch of options picked up. I would love to see a lot of guys be back next year that made big steps forward this year. But at the end of the day, this is Major League Soccer, and it's not like any other league in the world. And you have to just kind of take what comes, year by year, in its own individual sense. So we'll have a group ready for preseason next year. Hopefully that's a group that's going to be familiar with each other, with a few really big additions, we hope. So we'll see what happens.
When you first got here after the trade, you said that one of the things that you thought the team and the organization needed to improve on from a guy on the outside looking in was mentality.
Yeah.
Changing that winning attitude.
Yeah.
Are you happy with the steps that have been taken in that direction?
Yeah, I am happy with that. I am happy with how that improved throughout the season. I think that, in the beginning of the season, there was a little uncertainty, right? Like, you go through preseason, a lot of new pieces, you never really know how it's going to turn out. And I think the first couple games, it was hit and miss. We played well, and then, some games we didn't play well in other games. And then I think we started really hitting our stride in the beginning of summer, going throughout the summer. I mean, obviously we had that 11-game unbeaten run, and that was something that I think it really gave our club and our players a lot of confidence. That was something that we felt really strongly about, that we're heading in the right direction. Obviously, we weren't able to sustain that, but I think that's a little bit of a recipe for what it takes to be successful in Major League Soccer, is consistent performances, guys being on the same page, and the mentality of the group saying, doesn't matter how many games we win, we're hungry for more wins, and we're hungry to continue to just take it one game at a time. So the mentality's gotten a lot better. Don't want to be too negative about the playoff game, but you see that in the playoffs, the mentality needs to be amped up tenfold, because I think our mentality wasn't good enough in the playoff game, and that's the reason why we lost to a better team. But we'll learn from that experience, and we'll get better for next year.
I don't want to rush you into retirement, but you're a really good interview for us. And
Thank you.
Do you think about coaching or GM or TV at some point?
I mean, I'm 30 now, unfortunately. It's not the end of the road for me. I feel strong. I feel fit. I don't miss many games, and that's something that I'm really proud of. But at a certain point in your career, you always have to think about the next step. And I've thought about it all. I've thought about coaching. I've thought about, TV. I've thought about, being a GM. even though that job seems like it's a lot harder than the other ones. No, I think that it's all on the table for me. I love this game. I love what Major League Soccer has given me, and I certainly think that when my career is over, I want to stay involved in the game. In what capacity, I'm not sure, but I'm definitely starting to think more about that.
Speaking, to your area of the field, to the midfield specifically, do you feel like you guys need to create a little more in the attack out of the midfield? Is that an area you think you guys have some guys like yourself who?
Yeah, I think
really well,
I think that when you talk about our midfield specifically, we had a lot of really good players in our midfield, and I think that was something that was easy to see with the way that we possessed the ball, the way that we played and moved, interacted with each other on the field. What I will say is that I think that at certain points in the season, we did have guys on the field that were very similar in the qualities that they brought, and I think that anytime you can say that you want to add, let's say, a number 10, right? That's kind of an easy thing to say because every single team would say we want an unbelievable attacking player. For me, the thing that I would say is if we can add smart soccer players and players that have attacking qualities, those don't have to be necessarily number 10s. They can be wingers. They can be target strikers. They can be number 10s. They can be number 8s. It doesn't really matter. For me, it's all about just the ability of whoever they add to fit within our group and to make us better. If we add a winger or another striker or a number 10 or another midfielder that's going to make the team better and make us a little bit more creative in the attack, that's a positive. Because I think it's fair for you to say that at times during the season, our creativity was a little bit lacking. When teams sat back on us and didn't give us a lot of space to run into for Nico and David and Michael DeLu and Lucho to try to create and have space to run into, I think we struggled a bit. And you need that guy in there that can kind of change the game with one play, and a guy that can have the ability to play in between lines and see things that other guys don't see. Now, I think we have midfielders that are great passers, but again, that special feeling, that special quality that not a lot of guys have, we miss that at times this year, and that's a fair thing to say that we're hoping to improve our team.
This might be a little special. Where do you see the future of U.S. soccer now that you failed to qualify for the World Cup? And do you have any thoughts on a couple of former players throwing their head in the ring for USSF president Martino?
Yeah, I mean, I'm optimistic. I know that I never spoke about it afterward with you guys, but I mean that was probably one of the lowest points of my career, and obviously I didn't play in the game, but you're a part of the group, you're a part of the roster, and so I mean that's something that personally, selfishly, I have to think about that and I have to live with that the rest of my life, and that's something that's hard to say. So I think that the future of this country in terms of soccer is extremely bright. I look at guys playing in Europe that are 18. I look at guys playing in MLS that are 18, 19 years old, and I think those guys are far more talented than I was back when I was their age. And I think that those guys are getting far more experience and far more better competition when I was that age, playing in the MLS Reserve League, which you play one game every 3 weeks on a Sunday after the first team played. It's a lot different than it is now. So we are taking steps in the right direction. I think that obviously the next U.S. soccer president is going to have a lot on their plate. I hope that they're ready for it. And I hope that the one thing that they do is just I hope that they unify this country to try to take advantage of all the different nuances that require being an American. And it's not as straightforward as just saying, let's copy what Germany did or let's do what the Netherlands does. I mean, it's a really complicated answer. And I hope that the next U.S. soccer president figures out the best way forward for us, where he can not only improve all of our domestic leagues, but also, improve our kids that are 5, 6, 7 years old that are playing right now and trying to get better. So there's no easy answer, but I'm very optimistic about the future of soccer in this country.
And then he's saying, he expects to be back next year, and that's what we'll go with. But, Pano's name is coming up in rumors, and he's coached at a Youth World Cup. And
sure.
You're a guy who's played at the international level.
Of course.
In 1 year with him, what's your experience and takeaway of him as a manager? And, do you see him as someone who's obviously got that kind of future to coach at that level?
Yeah, I think so. I think Pano's a young manager who is constantly evolving and constantly learning. I think the good thing about Pano is that he's never satisfied. And even after we win, he's always looking at ways for us to get better and to improve. And he's constantly looking at things that he can do better, which I think as a young manager is crucial. You know, you can never be satisfied, and that's a good quality that he has. In terms of the international stuff, I mean, I can't really speak to his mentality or his mindset, but you know, from what I know of him, is he's very ambitious. You know, he wants to win, and he's got a hunger for winning that everyone can say that they have, but not very many people show that, and he shows that on a daily basis. So whatever his ambitions are, you know, I know that he's got the appetite for the game that would make him a successful manager at any level. So obviously we expect him to be back next year. We'll see what happens in these next couple of months. You guys know as well as I do, MLS off seasons are very unpredictable. So we'll see what happens.